It was day 4 of the Kansas City Chiefs training camp, and apparently today's practice was closed due to weather, closed to the public because of inclement weather, and by inclement weather, I mean it was cloudy, so they decided no one got to see. By the way, am I the only one who is absolutely tired of all of the rain this year? It is basically August, and everything is still alive. Normally, things are dying by this point in the year, and I want more brown grass. But we have some notes from practice, some observations from practice, including the absolute best news that we have to date from Chiefs camp. And what I've tried to do, instead of having all of the different tweets, because there was surprisingly little coverage on Twitter/X from the media, from the journalists who are allowed to be at practice so far, what I tried to do was compile what we had that was useful, in my opinion, and dive a little bit deeper into things. So we will have a look at the offensive line, the wide receivers, and the cornerbacks in this episode. Again, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, so if the Chiefs are what you're here for, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more. Now, we start off the day with the daily opening tweet from Pete about the offensive line and the lineup there. No change along the offensive line. Left tackle Josh Simmons, left guard Kingsley Suamataia, and right tackle Jaylen Moore. At this point, and I know that Jawaan Taylor is absent because of injury, but I think that what we have to do is prepare for the fact that there's a very real shot that Jaylen Moore is the starting right tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs this coming season. Neither of these players are on absolute monster contracts. Jawaan Taylor is a larger contract, but he's not someone who's really weighting the team down, and they can't move on from him due to salary cap hit. So, or they might as well not move on to him due to salary cap hit. So, I think that the fact that Jaylen Moore has a smaller contract than Jawaan Taylor should not stop the Kansas City Chiefs from moving on from Taylor at right tackle. Jawaan Taylor has been good in pass coverage or in pass blocking, but not great. He is, I think, a liability at times in the running game, and certainly he is a liability pre-snap. So those things taken into account, Jaylen Moore has done a very good job while he's had time on the field, and it might be that the Kansas City Chiefs do decide to go ahead and give him the nod at right tackle, at least until he proves he can't be the right tackle. And when we look at these two prospects, Jawaan Taylor has the tools over Moore, but Moore did his testing numbers, so we have them to look at, for one. But second off, there is something to be said for the value of mystery, right? Jaylen Moore has a little bit of intrigue about him because he has not committed all of the penalties and all of the show stoppers that Jawaan Taylor has. So it is possible, in my opinion, that Jaylen Moore is just a better offensive tackle than Jawaan Taylor. Moore is 6'4" and 1/8, an entire inch shorter than Taylor, Taylor being 6'5". They're around the same weight. Moore listed at 3'11" coming out of college. I think he's normally listed between 3'10" and 3'15" now, so basically the same. Taylor listed at 3'12". Taylor has the longer arms at 35 and 1/8 inch, almost 2 inches longer than Jaylen Moore at 33 and 3/8 inch. Jaylen Moore has the advantage in hand size, 10 and 3/4 inches versus 10-inch hands for Taylor. Taylor did 24 reps. Jaylen Moore did 27 reps. Jaylen Moore is an interesting athlete all around. I think that he does look... So sometimes you will hear people say that he's more of an offensive lineman than an athlete, meaning that I think Creed Humphrey is kind of that way, that you see him being the technician on the field. Jaylen Moore looks like an athlete in his movements, and I think that at this point, why not at least try it out? You're creeping ever closer to the first preseason game, and if they give Jaylen Moore a test run at right tackle, even if Jawaan Taylor is back, which I don't know the timeline on Jawaan Taylor, I don't know if it's been announced, I've never seen it, but if Jaylen Moore gets the nod at right tackle, and things go well, we may have seen the last of Jawaan Taylor as far as the starting lineup is concerned. And Jawaan Taylor, I don't think he's been terrible. He's had some terrible, terrible moments, but I don't think that he has been overall a detriment to the offense. Now, the next thing I want to say about the offensive line, you have Simmons, who at this point is the preemptive favorite to win the left tackle position, 317 pounds. Kingsley Suamataia, who is holding on to that left guard spot, 326 pounds. Creed Humphrey at the center spot, no question there, 302 pounds. Trey Smith at the right guard spot, there better not be any questions there, 321 pounds. And at this point, Jaylen Moore at right tackle, 311 pounds, though Jawaan Taylor is the same size. This is far from a jumbo-sized offensive line, but I think especially with Jaylen Moore out there as opposed to Jawaan Taylor, it could have the athleticism and mobility to be a sneaky good run-blocking line. They're all mobile guys. I think that obviously the biggest question would be Simmons. How does he translate to the NFL? But Simmons is a very imposing offensive tackle. I think that there is a possibility that I think that the obvious answer with Simmons is that he's going to be a plus at pass blocking. I think there's a possibility that he could be a dominant run blocker as well. And he does have that physicality. He does have that mobility. So I think that this offensive line, while the Chiefs, I think, are going to be a pass-first offense, as they should be with Patrick Mahomes under center, the ability for the running game to really take off this season is there, especially when you look at the running backs that they have. There's a lot of speed in that room outside of Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt even looks better than he did last year. He looks like he's got some of that explosion back just from, the limited things we've seen from him in camp. But judging from the fact that he was coming to the Kansas City Chiefs last year off of the couch, and he will have a full off season this year, I think does lend itself to the idea that maybe we will see a little bit of the return to the explosiveness from Kareem Hunt. So when you take into account the offensive line is sneaky athletic. The wide receivers have all the speed in the world that's going to keep some safeties out of the box, that is going to replace linebackers with safeties and corners on the field. Things could really be opened up for the running game. And we're going to get to one of the running backs that is sort of forgotten in the shuffle in this episode as well. But two interesting things from Pete, two interesting things that I've noticed in this look. Steve Spagnuolo rotating Najee Johnson and Jaylen Watson at cornerback 2. Elijah Mitchell second back to touch the ball after Isaiah Pacheco in rush period. Reading too much into the second back to touch the ball, right? We get into this sometimes because this is the only football we have right now. Maybe reading too much into it, maybe not. I've long defended Elijah Mitchell on this channel. I think he's going to have his opportunities this year, assuming that he makes the roster, assuming that he is healthy, assuming that he does have that pop back that he has shown in previous seasons. Judging from the performance on the field, Jaylen Watson is absolutely better than Najee Johnson. So why is he getting looks at the number 2 cornerback spot? Well, I think there's probably a couple different things going on here. Number one, you have to make sure that Johnson is ready because he did play a lot last year. There's always the possibility that someone's going to have to play more reps than you are hoping or expecting prior to the season. Last year, that was Najee Johnson. This year, you just want to make sure he's ready. But number 2, we have seen this time and again with Jaylen Watson. In their rookie season, Joshua Williams and Jaylen Watson came into the league the same year, as did Najee Johnson, by the way. But Jaylen Watson was lower on the totem pole than Joshua Williams much of the time. Last year, in training camp, Jaylen Watson was absolutely buried on the depth chart, absolutely buried when he came back from that injury that he had, was an ankle, right? Not only was Joshua Williams ahead of him, but Najee Johnson was ahead of him as well. And then all of a sudden the season starts, and guess who's on the field? I think that Is there a motivation problem with Jaylen Watson? Are they trying? Is this one of those ploys that coaches do to push a guy, right? Bury him on the depth chart and make him earn that back? Because we have seen this time and again with Jaylen Watson. So I think it's a fair question, right? I'm not saying anything about Watson. He's an absolute gamer. When he was first drafted, I remember making videos saying that I might be an idiot, guys, but he looks like he could be a starter, and saying I might be an idiot because he was a 7th-round pick. I think it's also worth talking about, don't forget that cornerback 2 right now is really cornerback 3 when Kristian Fulton returns. But we also have to remember with Kristian Fulton, he has never played a full season of NFL football. Add to that, Jaylen Watson got hurt last year. Add to that, the Chiefs are often taking Week 18 as an elective bye week. And maybe you want to give McDuffie some time off during the season because he plays a lot of football. So depth is important at the cornerback positions. It is important to have those guys ready to go when the need happens, because the need is going to happen. The second part of that tweet there is about Elijah Mitchell. Here's Elijah Mitchell. Here's his RAS score. A 9.44 RAS score. Obviously, there was a pro day involved as opposed to the official times, so a little bit of this is thrown off. And he is an undersized back at 5'10", 201. Only did 17 reps on the bench press. Those aren't the greatest numbers, but a 37.5-inch vertical leap is very good. A 10-foot, 8-inch broad jump for a running back translates to a 9.61 score out of 10. And then you have over there a 4.38 40-yard dash, absolutely electric, which is a score of 9.83 out of 10. The 10-yard split, a 1.51, which is unofficial. Then you have the shuttle drills of 4.19 and 6.94. This is an explosive athlete. Were it not for Brashard Smith being on the roster, everyone would be talking, in my opinion, everyone would be talking about Elijah Mitchell and the potentiality that he becomes the, not going to invoke the name, but the Jamal Charles of this group, because he is a back, if he is healthy, if that explosion is there, that can take the ball, make one cut, and be absolutely gone. That is the type of potential he has. Mitchell is undersized but explosive. You're hoping to get some of that rookie season magic from him. What do I mean by that rookie season magic? Well, 207 attempts yielded 963 yards. That is a 4.7 yard per carry average. Even into that second season, he got way fewer attempts, 45 attempts, but translated that into 279 yards, which was a 6.2 yard average. You see over here, I myself will talk about him sometime as a receiving threat. He has not proven to be that in the NFL, catching only 32 passes in his entire career at this point, 1 touchdown there. But I do think that if he can catch, right, this is a guy that the threat of him out of the backfield is immense, meaning that the Chiefs really only have one running back that is not a constant and persistent threat out of the backfield, and that's Isaiah Pacheco. And I think Isaiah Pacheco might have the tools to be an extreme receiving threat, but he has not proven it to this point either, just like Mitchell hasn't. But he doesn't. Mitchell has the tools, right? Brashard Smith is a converted wide receiver, and you see that in his shiftiness. Elijah Mitchell has that same type of shiftiness in his game. Isaiah Pacheco seemingly does not. That for whatever reason. And then you have Kareem Hunt, who in his first tenure with Patrick Mahomes was a monster receiving out of the backfield. So this is something that leads me to believe, in addition to drafting a running back this year, they signed a running back this year. They had Carson Steele already on the roster, who made the team last year. It looks like the Chiefs may be gearing up to lose Isaiah Pacheco in free agency. And he hasn't been the biggest contributor to this offense. The threat of his speed has never really been actualized, though prior to his injury last season, we started to see a little bit more of an explosive running back from Isaiah Pacheco. So I think that the running game for the Chiefs is maybe a little bit overrated. Then we have this from Jesse Newell, who says, and we don't really there was no numbers out there that I could find, nothing, no clips or anything from today's practice, but Chiefs rookie wide receiver Jalen Royals has had one of the best days out here today, included an impressive back shoulder sideline catch pass from Mahomes. More on what, and that's just the intro to his article. Here's my projected 6 wide receivers right now for this roster. Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Royals, and Hollywood Brown are cemented in. They're going to make this roster. I think Tyquan Thornton is proving that he can be a deep threat on this roster through camp. Now, it's easy to say that right now, right? The speed guys always look great at the beginning of camp, but it's true. And Nico Remigio. This group, these 6, is a massive departure from the last few seasons, with Worthy, Brown, and Thornton all being sub 4.3 guys. Remember, 2022, 2023, there was all of the talk about the lack of speed on the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core, in the Chiefs wide receiver core, and that proved on the field. A lot of guys weren't really getting open. Mahomes had to throw a lot of people open. The offense lost its explosiveness. This year they have 3 wide receivers who are sub 4.3, if this is the 6 that make the roster. That means that Rice, who runs a 4.51 40-yard dash, and Jalen Royals, who runs a 4.42 40-yard dash, become the possession guys. Nico is your return guy who sells out for the reception and can keep the chains moving if the defense loses him, right? I think that Nico is underrated as a wide receiver. Every time he gets the opportunity, he shows off a little bit more that he is a football player. Notably absent from these 6 wide receivers that I have listed here, Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that just because there's not a lot of speed there and he doesn't add anything on special teams, you might be looking at Juju Smith-Schuster not making the roster this year. He had a massive game last season, and everybody thought, okay, well, maybe the offense won't miss Rashee Rice that much. And then he kind of disappeared for great chunks of time. It's also, I think, possible that the Chiefs try to shy away from Travis Kelce a little bit in the regular season in order to conserve him for a postseason run. The Chiefs, I think, have to enter the season with the assumption that they're going to be in the playoffs, meaning that they are able to conserve some things, hold some things back, and not sell out week to week in order to conserve some of that prowess for the playoffs. In the event that Kelce is de-emphasized during the regular season, wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4 could have unexpectedly big seasons, and right now that is Jalen Royals and Hollywood Brown. I think we're going to see Jalen Royals edge out Hollywood Brown for that wide receiver 3 spot, either in the preseason or sometime early in the season. Probably it will be a moot point because Rashee Rice is likely to be suspended early in the year. So Jalen Royals, I think, will be sort of edged into that wide receiver 1 role that Rashee Rice has right now. We will see him get a whole lot more reps than otherwise we would have, which, again, another thing that will pay dividends for the postseason. But you're also looking at who is the 7th guy. Tyquan Thornton and Nico Remigio, 5 and 6 in my opinion. There will be another name appended to this list once the season is closer because of the Rashee Rice suspension. And the best news that... I put that somewhere it did not belong. No, I didn't. I'm just an idiot. Noel Williams getting reps with first-team action in late 11-on-11 period as well. And then Jesse Newell adds Chiefs rookie cornerback Noel Williams getting some ones rotation in there today. Remember, Christian Fulton remains on PUP with a knee injury. Noel Williams is an outside press man corner. Like we talked about earlier, having depth to give McDuffie looks in the slot where he is best is something the Chiefs are going to want to do from time to time. Looking at the athlete that Noel Williams is, not the best athlete. So, not necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but he's 6 feet tall, 199 pounds, 19 reps on the bench press, which is a pretty good number. 33.5-inch vertical is a rough number for a cornerback. A 10-foot broad jump, a 4.50 40-yard dash, not a great 40-yard dash there. 10-yard split was bad with a 1.61. So you're really going to want to make sure that you're pressing that man on the line because you're not going to be able to catch up if you don't. 4.25 short shuttle and 6.97 three-cone drills are both acceptable numbers. So Noel Williams, I think, is a bit limited as a corner, but that's just by the numbers. Guys all the time perform better than their numbers suggest. And then the best news we have so far, Pete saying the Chiefs say they got through the first 4 days new injury-free, which is a good start. After last season, it is indeed a good start. After hearing some of the news that has broken around the NFL the last 24 hours, it is indeed a good start, a clean start, and hopefully it is the beginning to a healthy season for the Kansas City Chiefs because they've had a couple rough ones here. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, so consider hitting the subscribe button to stick around for more. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.